Hello and welcome to the NinjaTrader webinar room. My name is Eric and I work here at the Technical Support Department of NinjaTrader. As we are getting started up, I'd like to do just a quick test of picture and sound. So if you can hear my voice and see the display, please place a Y into the chat form, please. All right, thank you for confirming that. Now, it is important to understand that there are substantial risks in trading commodities futures contracts. You should carefully consider whether such trading is suitable for you. This will depend on your specific circumstances and financial resources. It is possible to lose all the funds deposited with your broker and could even incur losses beyond these amounts. Please inquire at brokerage support at NinjaTrader.com for more information or for a copy of the CFTC full risk disclosure. Also, please remember that these training webinars are not a solicitation nor recommendation, but simply educational in nature. Now for today's webinar, we'll be going over Charting 201, which goes over the advanced settings of charting within NinjaTrader. During today's webinar, we will learn how to take control of your charts and other powerful NinjaTrader tools to combine them to get a clear vision of the markets. Now, NinjaTrader is a free application for advanced charting, market analytics, automated strategy development, and trade simulation. We only charge for our product if and when you decide to trade live on the NinjaTrader platform. If you'd like to learn more, just please click the links I've provided in the yellow information blocks below my display. Alright, so in today's webinar, right now in the room I have our Blue Dojo workspace loaded. I'm going to go ahead and just minimize a few of the windows we won't be working with, like the Superdome. For today's webinar, what I'd like to start off showing you is how to copy and paste drawing objects. From the previous webinar, the drawing objects themselves are located from this top toolbar item that has a little pencil for the drawing objects, or you can locate that by right-clicking in the background of the chart and selecting Drawing Tools. To copy and paste drawing object, I'm going to go ahead and just draw a quick line here. To copy and paste, you have a couple options. You can right-click with the line selected and select Copy, or you can use the shortcut keys Control-C on your keyboard. But once you have a drawing object copied from either of those methods, to paste, what you'll need to do is just then hit Control-V on your keyboard. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy this line here, and then hit Control-V to get that line pasted. Now, often we do get a lot of questions about the drawing objects being plotted directly on each other. You can see how these are getting a little bit close. So a lot of times you might just use your mouse to see if you can pull anything away if that does occur. Also in this right-click menu, you'll notice there's an option for locking drawing objects. Drawing objects can be locked so that they cannot be removed if they're not viewed within a certain amount of time, and also so they can't be moved just by dragging your mouse. But looks like we may have a question. Sounds like someone is not having any sound. Is anyone else not able to hear me? You might also check the little volume thing that's underneath the chat box, see if you have that turned up and the volume on your computer as well. Alright, great. Sounds like you can hear us now. That's great. So yeah, the locking option will make it so that the object is not able to be moved. Oh, excuse me. So I'm going to go ahead and just right-click on this option, this line here, and then select Lock. Now if I go ahead and try to move this, you'll notice my mouse is then denied. It's not going to be removed or moved at all, but I can go ahead and just move this object that is not locked. And next, to get into the Properties menu for drawing objects, you have a couple of options. You can right-click directly on the drawing object itself, and then select the bottom option for Properties, or you can get a little quicker just by double-clicking on the drawing object itself. In the line properties, most of these settings appear to have been covered in the previous webinar on how they're visually displayed, like the color, width, and dash style. But you can lock the drawing objects here as well. In addition, you can use this Attach To drop-down menu to make it so that the object will show up across multiple charts. For example, I could go ahead and select Attach To and then Apply. And what you'll want to do is just watch this section of this chart over here. And you'll notice how this drawing object then appeared on this chart as well. So that's a good way if you want those drawing objects to show up across multiple charts for you. Also, next to this lock feature, there also is the feature for auto scale, and that will allow the drawing object to be considered in scaling for viewing your chart. So if you do have a drawing object that shows outside of the scaling of the data itself, you can include it in auto scaling so that it's going to be displayed no matter what as well. Of course, if you do end up making some settings for a drawing object you do like and want to use going forward, you can just hit that Set Default button to go ahead and have those be retained. Next, another good tip I'd like to show you for using drawing objects is using the Fibonacci tools. Reason being is that the Fibonacci tools use a little bit different settings from all the rest of the standard drawing objects. So I'm going to go ahead and just plot a Fibonacci retracement here and get into that Properties menu just by double-clicking right on the indicator itself. In the Fibonacci Tools menu, you notice that you can make a number of settings, but there's no Set Default button or way to save these settings going forward. To go ahead and get there, what you do is right-click directly on the Fibonacci Retracement Properties window and go to Manage Templates. In here, you can create multiple templates for a number of settings, but if you would like the setting to be the default so that it'll be retained every single time you use the Fibonacci retracement, you just need to save the template as default. We do get a lot of questions too because the default window is actually very specific. For example, if I just enter an additional space or a couple of spaces after default, I can press save, and what happens is it just created another template called default. So to get it to be the default setting, you have to make sure the spelling is directly on and there's no additional spaces. So if I go ahead and press OK now, you should then be prompted to save the current template as default. So if you don't see that, basically what it's doing is just creating another template. Looks like we got a question here. So if you don't use auto scale when you add or subtract candles, the drawing would be off, right? Not quite sure what you mean there, Mark. The auto scale feature for the drawing objects makes it so that the drawing object will be shown no matter if it's like not included in the scale of the data series already, if that kind of helps clarify. For example, if I go ahead and move this drawing object outside the scale of our chart here as it normally is, and then go into the properties and select auto scale. Now the chart is going to include this drawing object in the scaling so that this isn't going to be displayed. Normally, if I just remove this drawing object, the scaling just refers to the price and the candles itself. But with that drawing object there, it refers to that as well. So that's kind of what that feature is designed for. I don't know if that helps clarify what you were asking there. But aside from using the Drawing Fibonacci Tools Templates menu, another good option I'd like to show you is how to remove drawing objects rather quickly. You can do that by the bottom option in the Drawing Tools menu called Remove Drawing Objects. And that'll let you remove multiple objects at once. So I can select Fibonacci retracements and remove all Fibonacci retracements. You'll notice though in that menu I did not have the option to remove the lines that's on my chart, and that's because that line is locked. So what I'll need to do first is right-click, unselect lock, and it can remove that by right-clicking and selecting remove again, or just by using the delete key of my keyboard. All right, but I'm going to go ahead and just put a quick poll in the room on our first section of today's webinar, just on what are the valid ways to access the drawing tool properties. You do have the options from clicking on an object, right-click in Properties, double-click on the object, click and drag the object, or press the Escape key. While you're taking that, I'm just going to go ahead and rearrange a couple of the items in our chart here, or in our workspace, just to show you the next section of today's webinar. All right, I would like to thank everyone who took it. Looks like we got the correct answer there. Just to click on the object, right click and then properties. And the second option would work as well, and that would just be double clicking directly on the drawing object. That'll open up that properties menu for you too. Next, I'd like to show you how to use the window linking feature of NinjaTrader. You'll notice at the very top of each chart window, in addition to the close button, maximize button, and minimize button, there is also a little L that when clicked has a drop-down menu with a number of colors. What that refers to is the window linking feature of NinjaTrader. And that can make things a little bit easier when you're switching intervals in your charts or in other order entry windows in NinjaTrader. For example, if I go ahead and switch this chart over here that's linked with this teal color to the NQ or NASDAQ future, you'll notice that all my other charts linked with that teal color did switch over for me as well. So that's a good tool to use in a workspace if you want to save yourself a little bit of time when switching over to multiple instruments. Another feature I'd like to show you that works globally across multiple charts is the option for a global crosshair. You can access that from the cursor drop-down menu in the top of the chart as the third option for a global crosshair. When enabled, this will then show up across multiple charts. So I'm going to go ahead and just enable it here in this lower 15-minute NQ chart as well. So now you can see that even though I'm moving my mouse in this lower 15-minute chart, it is moving and actively updating in the upper chart as well. So that's a good feature to help you make sure you're looking at the same location on the charts across multiple intervals. If you would like to disable this feature in one chart, say for example you have one chart that's on a lower interval and you don't want to see that one just jumping around so much, you can do that as well. That's just found in the chart properties itself. So to get there, right click on the chart and then go to properties. And the option we're looking for is just a little bit towards the bottom, and it's called Global Crosshair Time Axis Scrolling. We could set that to false and press OK. Now when I scroll in this lower chart, while my mouse will go ahead and move in there, the scrolling itself has been disabled. So that's not going to keep on moving around if I don't want it to. So that's a good feature for you to use potentially as well. I'm going to go ahead and just turn this back to our regular cursors here. Next, another feature I'd like to show you is with use in the Market Analyzer. The Market Analyzer will allow you to open up charts directly from itself as well, so that's a good tool to use if you're using the Market Analyzer. To do that, what you do is right-click on what you'd like to open up, go to Send To, and then Chart. Looks like mine did open up on another window. But that's a good way to get charts open really quickly, aside from using the File, New, and Chart menu option. Though tomorrow's webinar will have a little bit more information about using the Market Analyzer, and that's called the Workspace webinar. So if you're interested a little bit more in this lower right window, the Market Analyzer, that might be a good webinar for you to attend going forward. Next, the feature I'd like to show you is the Instrument Manager. That's found at Tools and then Instrument Manager. What this window does is allows you to manage instrument lists and create and edit instruments that are already in NinjaTrader or new if you're creating them yourself. One thing we do get a lot of questions about is this New and Delete button. And the questions usually are because people think that these are for making new instruments. What this actually refers to is managing the lists themselves. So this would allow me to create a new instrument list or delete an instrument list that I've already created in this section of the Instrument Manager. But for removing or adding instruments themselves, that's all going to be in this right section under Available Master Instruments. Tom asks, where's the best place to learn to set up charts from the beginning? For that, what I'd like to direct you to is the Charting 101 video. That's going to have a little bit more information on general chart creation information. 1 second, I'll go ahead and just find that recorded version of the webinar, and I can throw that in the room for you. This video is located in the training channel of our YouTube channel, so there are a number of other educational videos you might want to check out there as well. They have pretty much every or a video for every product feature of NinjaTrader, so you can get a lot of good information from there. Next, in the Available Master Instruments section, there's a type drop-down menu for currencies, futures, indices, and stocks. Now, we do get some questions on this as well because this window itself is specific to the data provider you're connected to. Right now, I'm connected to Kinetic, which supports currencies, futures, indices, and stocks, which is why I can see every single one. But if I were to connect it to, say, NinjaTrader Continue and Demo, that data feed only provides data for futures and indices, so I wouldn't be able to see stocks or currencies when connected to that data feed. So that's a random question we get a lot, so you might want to take a look at that. If you're not able to see something, that could be the very reason. It's just your data feed doesn't support it. Under the name section or description section, those are windows you can use to search through. The name section is a bit more specific, so if you're looking for something in particular, like the ES or E-mini 500, you can find it by searching ES under the name section. If you're doing a little bit more of a general search, that's when I advise using the description section. For example, if you type NYSE, you can find a lot of the NYSE or New York Stock Exchange indices that way, just because it's doing a more general search for that type of information. Of course, this buttons down here below, the arrow buttons, they are also for managing this default instrument list. For example, if I wanted to add the NYSE volume index to my instrument list, what I do is then first select and then use this left-facing arrow that points towards this to add it to the default instrument list. And then, of course, whenever you're done, just press OK to save those settings in your instrument manager. So I'm going to put a quick poll in the room just on what the instrument manager is used for. You do have the options between creating custom lists, creating or deleting instruments, changing instruments, session templates, or downloading historical data. All right, looks like we've got some good answers there. So the options there, the first three would all be pretty correct here. You can create custom instrument lists, add or create or deleting instruments, or change the instrument session templates or trading hours. The session templates do refer to the trading hours for the chart, and there are some pre-programmed ones defined in each instrument as well. So I can show you that real quickly too. For example, for the ES, I'll go ahead and pull up that instrument. The session template by default that will be used in NinjaTrader when you load these charts is this one listed right here. You can change that to anything else you like within the instrument itself or within whatever chart you're viewing individually. To do it individually within the chart, what you'll do is right-click on the chart, go to Data Series, and the session template can then be altered in the chart itself just from this session template drop-down menu. That is covered in a little bit greater detail in the Charting 101 video as well, so you may want to check that one out if you have any questions regarding the session manager. And next, I'd like to go ahead and go over the Historical Data Manager. That's accessed by Tools, then the section option, Historical Data Manager. Going from right to left, this is a good tool for reloading all historical data. The Reload tab will reload all data for all of your active charts. The download function will allow you to pick an instrument that's in any of your instrument lists and then download a specific date range for that instrument. You can also get really specific on the data you're downloading. You can just download tick, minute, or day data, or just download ask, bid, or last data as well. The edit section, that'll let you edit and remove the historical data you have already collected with NinjaTrader. To go ahead and do it, what you do is expand what you'd like to view, and then to delete, just right-click on what you'd like to remove, and then select delete. For the exporting and importing sections of Historical Data Manager, what I'd like to draw your attention to is the help guide of NinjaTrader, actually. The help guide can be accessed really easily by hitting the F1 key. And it's a very good feature because it'll actually open up to the very section you're looking at. So since I'm looking at the historical data manager, it just opened me right up to that section of the help guide. The reason I'd like to show you that is because the format for importing or exporting historical data has to be very specific, and it's all dependent on the data type. For example, the format has to be very specific for ticks, minute bars, or even daily bars. So it has to be in these very specific formats to be successful when importing or exporting. In addition, they have to be text files or .txt files on your PC. Those are the very standard documents that are created by usually right-clicking and selecting new notepad or new document. So they're really common files, but they have to be in that format in addition to the format for the data itself to get imported or exported correctly. And that's different across multiple platforms as well. So you may have to make some changes if you're exporting from one platform to the other. I'd like to put another quick poll in the room just on what is the valid format for the historical data manager. You do have the options between text file, CSV file, XML file, and Excel file. Now while you're taking that, I would also like to open up the room to any general charting questions that I may address during today's webinar. All right, thanks for taking that. The correct answer there would be text file, the first option, and of course that is abbreviated on your PC usually as .txt, so you may be seeing those a little bit differently too. All right, but I don't see any questions coming in the room today. So before we go, I'd like to save our work by closing NinjaTrader via the X in the top right of the NinjaTrader control panel. We want to make sure to click there or via the File and then Exit menu to make sure that when we relaunch NinjaTrader, all of our charts and windows in our workspace will be there just how we left them. So I'm going to go ahead and just click the X and then yes to all to save any of my open workspaces. Now, when we relaunch NinjaTrader, it should be just how we left it. So I'm going to go ahead and relaunch as well. All right, but as you can see, it did go ahead and load my workspace just how we left it. But I'd like to thank everyone for attending today's webinar. In just a few short hours, you can join my colleague Patrick for the Wednesday Semi-Automated Strategies webinar today at 5:30 p.m. EDT. And of course, happy trading from all of us here at NinjaTrader, and have a great rest of your day.